Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth and Story, and I am here to do a walkthrough of the Flowers of the Night Oracle by Sherilyn Darcy. This is a Rockpool Publishing deck, which I was kind of surprised to see because it's generally Rockpool Publishing boxes are all much larger with the deck split in half in a bigger guidebook. Although, I don't know how this hasn't been out. I think this was just out this past year. And I will say I have their kitchen one, which I love, that I keep over with my herbs. And that's small like this too, so maybe they're going to starting to do some of these smaller sets. Although I really do love this size. But I have to say I do also really like their big, full color guidebooks as well that come in the other. So, you know, they're, I think, different depending on the book, you know, what the deck requires. Maybe that's how they're going. But anyways, I was surprised. I didn't realize that this was Rockpool Publishing. So they actually had this. I was so surprised to see this at my Barnes & Nobles the other day when I had a lovely personal day of just, I took myself to lunch, I took myself to the bookstore and putzing at the health food store with herbs and things. It was a nice day. I also got my Bob Ross deck, if you saw that live unboxing. But I did pick up Flowers of the Night. This has been on my radar for a long time. I think the first time I saw this was probably on Katie Flowers. I'll put a link. She has a video review of this, but she also has a comparison. So this was a indie deck that the artist put out herself, and then Rockpool Publishing picked it up. So Katie does have a review of both of the decks. There is one card that is different in this deck than that, but other than that, the image isn't any different. It's just been, it looks to me as if Rockpool Publishing did a pretty good job at morphing this over from an indie deck into that deck. But I'll put a link to those below in case you're curious about that. So I have not seen or had the indie version of it. And I had, one of the reasons I was iffy on it is this is all based on plants, and I remember watching some reviews wherein the deck wasn't, the guidebook didn't really go into the herbs a lot. And this one really does, so I was excited to see that. And I also, my friend Larissa, who does the Bard's Lament, she, I know, has worked with this for a while, so I was at Barnes & Nobles, and I messaged her. I'm like, do you still like this deck? Like, because I don't know what this is originally. I'm guessing 20-ish, maybe. I had a coupon, so it was like $17, so I don't know what it is on Amazon. But anyway, she said, oh yeah, I still use it and love it. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get it and give it a try. That was a very long, rambling introduction, isn't it? So it comes in, I love lime green. I love lime green. So you have the accents for the book, the accent of the title and the name, obviously the inside of the box in this lovely lime green, which really pops with the black and the white here, which is gorgeous. You can see one of the cards on the front of the box, and this is not a sketching, and this is not a sketchbook. This isn't a line work like black ink and watercolor. This is, I think it's called lino, let me get the right name of it. Talks about it in here because I've read it. Here we go. Block print, but I thought there's another name for that. Maybe people keep calling it lino something. Anyways, it is block print. So it is literally where you are, you know, she draws the image on to block or rubber of some kind, and then cuts away the relief, and then, you know, puts ink over the top of it, and then, you know, much the way in which original tarot decks were created. And what's funny is I don't generally like the older style block print tarot decks. The line work, because of the nature of it, you can't get the same flow and things, or it's much more difficult to get smoother lines and things of that nature. However, in this deck, I really think she did an amazing job. She talks about it, block print is rather unforgiving, and in this I always find honesty in illustrating the energies I find in the flowers, because it's so unforgiving. I think it's amazing. So she talks about what the process is to create each one of these cards. So I thought that was really interesting and loved that. And so she's got a couple spreads in here. Some of them I think are rather large for an oracle deck. I just don't, but that's me personally. I don't use oracle decks. If I were going to do, I did like the look of some of these, I would probably do some tarot with oracle or some sort, because I did like, this is a night garden oracle walk. I did like this for moon cycle. I thought really kind of get to the nut and bolts of the moon cycle. And then she has a full moon spread. Again, that's probably more cards than I would do with an oracle deck. But I would use this in some other way. Turn my phone off. Probably as well. So I did like, there's a nice amount of ones that fall kind of based on the moon, because this is the night oracle. So we do have those. I guess I should, maybe zoom in, because these are smaller, so that you can see it a little bit better. It's not their what I come to know with Rockpool Publishing. Their guidebooks are often a different kind of a paper, more of a, not glossy, but has sort of a smooth finish to it. Where this is more regular paper. It's quite lovely. It's not full color, which is something I do really like about Rockpool Publishing guidebooks. But it is Flowers of the Night, so it works. And the information that's in these 2 pages per card I think is really fantastic, because you get an image of the card that's bigger than a thumbnail. It's not huge, but it's bigger than a thumbnail. You get a section underneath the card all about the actual flower, sort of like you would get in a guide to, botanical guide. And I personally, because I use botanicals in various ways, I really appreciate that. That's something I would want. I wouldn't want to have to go look that up on a deck that's about flowers. So I really love that that's there. Then you have sort of the keyword, the name of the flower, the scientific name for the flower, and then more of it as a divination. And there's also an affirmation for each, and then a keyword. So for example, for the first card here of acceptance, we have Evening Primrose Oil is produced from this plant, which is native to Eastern and Central North America. Let me pause for a moment. This is, while the creator of this deck has an Australian wildflower deck, as well as another flower oracle, as well as a flower petal oracle. I think her first one was probably the Australian one, perhaps. I'm not sure on that. These flowers are not just Australian flowers. These are flowers that you can find all over the world, and I really enjoy that. Okay, sorry about that. This oil is produced in this plant, which is native to Eastern and Central North America. The plant grows to between 30 and 150 centimeters, 1 and 5 feet in height, and has bright yellow flowers measuring between 2.5 and 5 centimeters, 1 to 2 inches for those of us who don't use a metric system, in diameter. After blooming in the evening, the flowers will only last until the following noon. How amazing is that? Found in the eastern parts of North America, the night flying sweat bee, which we have over here, there's very often, not every card, but almost every card has a insect or a reptile or an animal. And tells the length of about 8 millimeters or 0.3 inches, little sweat bees. We have those all around. And forages upon the evening primrose. They are active at night and navigate by the light of the moon and the stars. So we have this night bee and a night primrose, and how they might, work together. And I just think it's amazing. I really do like this deck a lot, because it's something that I do think is different. So I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be reading this. Acceptance is a keyword. Now I know on the original deck, the name of the flower was first and then the keyword was second. They've swapped it up for this one. Either way, it's got both things there. By making peace now with what you may find unchangeable, you could find a new way forward. Evening Primrose indicates that emotional support is needed and offered. Often when we feel held in this space, we will naturally improve our outlook considerably. Your commitment to a project, idea, or relationship will be required. This energy also aligns with parental relationships which may be tested at present. This flower helps immensely with family relationships and can send a message that things are improving, but you may also need to set firm boundaries to protect yourself. You could be facing rejection soon and are reminded that it is not you who is being rejected, but rather something that you are doing or connected with. This is the time to work on what you really want to invest your emotions in. The affirmation is, I am emotionally courageous and strong. The keywords are acceptance, emotional support, female, parents, commitment, and rejection. So you can see that in both the meaning and the keywords, there is both light and shadow right out the gate, so to speak. So that's kind of what you get. So for each card, you have those multiple things, and it looks like every time there is an animal, it tells you both information on the plant and the animal. That to me is perfect. I just, I would have been disappointed to have not gotten that information in the guidebook. So I'm really glad that that's provided in this one, because that would be the purpose for me of wanting a deck like this. So there we have that. So great box, really pretty. Love is almost like a gold, but it's like a green gold. So yeah, I like everything about the box. It's a little glossy. Everything's a little bit glossy. That tends to be the truth of Rockpool Publishing. It's a smaller deck than my other than the kitchen one that I have. Generally their decks tend to be larger size decks and guidebooks, but again, this isn't the first one I've gotten this year that's been like this, so it might be a new trend, but it is quite glossy. Now the original was also glossy, but this is slightly more higher sheen to it. We can see the wonderful backings where the stars turn into flowers, and of course it's really highly based off of moon energy, because there we go, it's probably better. It's at night, which I think is really beautiful, because you do think a lot and work a lot with flowers and sunlight, right? Because you just think of flowers and sunshine, sunshine and flowers and rainbows, but I love that this is combining animals and flowers and the moon. It's beautiful. So I've already blackened the sides, as you can see, because there's no way I could have a deck that was black and major black energy, color tones here, and then have the white sides. That just wasn't going to happen, so they are black. I've already done that. They do not come this way. I did that myself. Now I will say that because it's glossy and because it's black and because I did edge it, which can get messy, there's definitely some fingerprints on here, but it also wipes off fairly easy. I've watched, and I put a link to it below, of Katie Flower's comparison, and she does show how the saturation's a little bit higher in the mass-produced deck, and you do lose in the original because it's a block print. There are lots of sort of texture and speckling in the background that you lose a lot of in this production of it. You can see it, and in some it's more than others, but that is something, and the animals tend to be a little bit more into the shadow in this deck, which works okay for me because it is something that's like you're at night and you might just happen to see that panther overlooking that bush, so it's okay to me. It's not again, I think, and she even mentions, if these weren't side by side, obviously it wouldn't make as much of you wouldn't see it as much. And I don't have any trouble seeing the animals. It doesn't feel overly dark as a general rule. But I did want to point that out. So there is the Acceptance Evening Primrose, which we talked about. Here is the achievement card with Chaga. Let me get this out so we cased it. We don't know what these are. And of course we have a puma. And this is native to the Americas. And they're also known as the mountain lion, cougar, panther, and talks about their coloration that can go from tawny but can be silver gray and even a reddish tint to them. And so we have that with the chaga, which is a flowering root vegetables of the Andes region. Some of the keywords for this are achievement, victory, community, leadership, these kinds of things. Here we have affinity with what looks like a, I was going to say it's a jackal, but it's not. It's an aardwolf. It's an insectivorous mammal that feeds mostly on termites and uses its sticky tongue. See, I would have definitely kind of just from looking at it, kind of, glancing at it, I would have thought maybe it was a jackal. And with night phlox, which is native to South Africa. And here we have affinity, calm, peace, inner love, a release of tension, these kinds of things. The beautiful flowers. Love the moths here. Again, you can also see, this is the first one. We do have a moon. Very often there is a moon in some of the cards, which I love. So here we have Awaken with the blazing star, which is a wildflower of the western United States and northwest Mexico, which is so beautiful. It talks about how this can trap insects on itself. And then we have the beautiful Luna moth, which is one of the largest moths in North America. Beautiful. And the keywords here are awaken, foundation, maturity, importance, and psychic abilities. Here we have awareness. This one I don't think has an animal. But we do have the Eastern Islands standing the stones. The Easter Island figures. Brain freeze here, but it's they're monolithics in and on an island. And I noticed that on her flower one, which is one I'll probably eventually pick up, not the Australian one, but the regular flower one, it all has placed, where they came from. There's things in the background that regards to that, which I quite love as well. Awareness, divine feminine, dreams, healing, intuition, and our habits, so being aware. And the flower is a moonflower vine, which is gorgeous. Here we have balance with the chocolate flower. It's part of the sunflower family, and this is in the Pueblo language. The guidebook says Katui means white cliffs. These magnificent formations found in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the United States, which are gorgeous. The result of volcanic events some 6 to 7 million years ago. She has those combined for balance, guidance, security, harmony, grounding, and also disconnection. There usually seems to be some degree of shadow in all the keywords. Here we have the Casablanca Lily. They are the largest lily flower, apparently. And then it's combined actually with shooting stars. During this time, the gods may hear our wishes. Starlight, star bright, I love it. Celebration, unconditional love, friendship, and also emptiness. So again, even in the text, they do talk about, or Sherilyn talks about emptiness and dissatisfaction can be challenges presented. So it talks about the different challenges as well. So you're definitely getting light and shadow in, it looks like all of the cards, which is beautiful. The challenge cards has a dragon fruit, as well as a vampire bat. And we have challenge, inner strength, guides, dreams, perseverance, and apathy. So it even goes in and talks about it, and then it's like, but beware of apathy at this time. If something is like an underlying issue that could be there. We have Chance and Darwin's Orchid. And it talks about Halley's Comet. So they're not all animals. I would say the majority are. I should probably separate out what are not. Like those are the monoliths, that, the shooting stars, so we can see by the end. I quite like that. The Halley's Comet was once thought to have predicted the death of King Harold II of England and appears on Bayek's tapestry. I love that. It was also thought to be the Star of Bethlehem, and throughout history a sign of good and bad omens. Omens, not homes, sorry. Chance, reward, progress, completion, resistance, and difficulty. I think this one's beautiful. We have the sea moonflower, which only blossoms at night and is found throughout the world, with the exception of Europe. And we have the death head hawk moth. Sorry. Clarity, education, mental strength, intellect, triumph, and comprehension. Love this. This one you could definitely see in the original, where this was a little bit darker, but I think it actually worked in this favor, because I think it just blends into the night like a wolf would. Native to Southern Oregon and Northern California, the wolf's evening primrose, and then of course we have a gray wolf here. Commitment, choices, loyalty, structure, fairness, judgment, and then of course dishonesty. The challenge, again, it seems to at the very end talk about the challenge. Love this one too. Here we have a buff colored nightjar and the Fishbone Cactus. Communication, trust, discussions, sharing, expression, and also defensiveness. We have compassion with the port wine magnolia and a bogong moth, which are native to Australia. Compassion, sharing, spirituality, self-growth, retreat, and rejection. Here we have the night blooming day lily, along with flowers of moonshade. So this actually doesn't show anything going along with it. It's just the daylily. The plant talks about the plant, where it's found. Yeah, doesn't talk about anything but the flower. Creation, creativity, birth, beginnings, luck, abundance, improvement. Also can see in narcissism, because it says, be warned to not get carried away with external appearances and status, and so on and so forth. I really like that there's both energies at play in these. I know I've said that a bunch. That one doesn't have anything. Let's see how many of those. Now, this is a card that is not in the original deck. The original deck has one called Cleansing, I believe, but Katie does make note that the text is fairly similar, this idea of what to let go of and, you know, what to hold on to, this kind of energy with death energy. So they seem to be similar energetically. And so we have the Indian flying fox along with the devil's trumpet. And the keywords are death, defeat, loss, ending, completion, sleep, and passing. So this one starts a little bit more on the shadow side, and then brings in completion and passing and things positive more at the end. So this is more primarily shadow. So I'm going to just kind of see if there's other ones like that. We have the woodland tobacco and the margay. This little big-eyed thing is a margay, which is a cat that's a good climber and spends its entire life in trees where it hunts. Oh, sorry. She's very jumpy tonight, as always. Isabel Louise, come here. Come on. She's so nosy. Depth, peace, togetherness, exploration, calm, attention, but over-analyzing. That's my problem. So I do love that. Here we have devotion. He's a little hard to see, but you know, that makes sense. He should be a little bit hard to see. It's a leopard. Yeah, I mean, it's a leopard. So we have the Royal Lily with a leopard, and the keywords are devotion, completion, fulfillment, optimism, achievement, but also broken promises. Those are pretty flowers. We have emotions with the evening stock flower and a beautiful nightingale. Now, most of the time, the flower is very much the center of attention. Whether or not there is Easter Island or an animal, the flowers are very front and center in this deck. This would be the one, I think, exception. We'll see. But I do think it's beautiful. Emotions, calm, compassion, generosity, beginnings, but also you can get a little moody. I love this one too. Focus. We have the great horned owl, and we also have the tuberose. Focus, generosity, desire, pleasure, attention, temptation, and risk. Love this. This Chilean jasmine with the sloth. Freedom, innocence, trust, optimism, potential, naivety, and foolishness. Here we have hope with this, I was going to say a swallow, but it is a petrel. Hope, optimism, the present, joy, meeting, illumination, and then, of course, disillusionment. I quite like these flowers. Spiny star, and this does not have anything else but the plant. Influence, luck, turning point, control, phases, time, and fate. We have intention with the Chinese star jasmine and the pygmy slow loris, which is found in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and China. Intention, purpose, self-acceptance, positivity, and over-perfectionism. We have the evening star with the Sphinx moss, white-lined Sphinx moss. It's also known as the hummingbird moth due to its hovering behavior. Intimacy, validation, confidence, self-respect, dilemma, and dependence. This is beautiful. Intuition with the desert thorn apple and the black-tailed jackrabbit. Intuition, visions, dreams, creative blocks, meditation, daydreaming, and illusions. Here we have motivation with the 4 o'clock, also known as the marvel of Peru. And then here we have Machu Picchu. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, was once known as the lost city of the Incas, but is in fact a 15th century Incan stone citadel situated in the mountain ranges above sea level in Peru. Motivation, activity, determination, willpower, and distraction. I don't know, I've got several piles, but I think I'm mixing them up. Here we have night blooming jasmine with opportunity. It also has a bushtail possum. Opportunity, perseverance, endurance, resourcefulness, but also neglect. This is really beautiful. Passion with the red flare water lilies. Nothing else here. Passion, opportunity, romance, relationship, desire, and trust. We have patience with the Japanese wisteria and the evening cicada. We have cicadas, not apparently these. These are from Asia, or mostly through Asia. Patience, peace, stillness, unconditional love, femininity, and complacency. I love that it's one of the, this is for keywords. Cicadas around me they make a really loud noise at night, so I definitely don't think of them as peace, although it does, I guess, indicate all's well, because if something would have happened to startle them all, and something with a foot, they probably all go quiet. I do love these flowers. Here we have pleasure. This guy is really a little bit difficult to see, but again, I feel like that works with flowers of the night. This is the Belle de Nuit plant, and this is known as a honey bear. Oh, Kinkajou are mammals found in forests and rainforests of Central and South America. Too cute. Pleasure, captivation, desire, enjoyment, intoxication, and jealousy. Their flowers bloom only at night and are spent before the dawn. Here we have the Queen of the Night, a plant with power. This is a night flowering cactus, and with it is a boa constrictor, which is gorgeous. Has a diet consisting mainly of birds, bats, rodents, and lizards. Power, self-confidence, nature, evolutions, beginnings, and self-obsession. That's very powerful, which is probably why it's called Power. Here we have Preserve with the Silver Ghost thistle here. And then we have a hopping vegetarian rodent called the Iranian jerboa. Preserve, meditation, introspection, focus, withdrawal, and isolation. That's interesting. It has been found in only one small population. Oh, so it is in isolation. That's interesting. We have the clove pink and protection with a little Crete spiny mouse. It feeds at night mostly on grass and seeds. Protection, thoughtfulness, emotions, vitality, encouragement, and obsession. This looks like a lynx, maybe. Purpose, the desert wishbone, with a bobcat or a lynx. Or they think it came from a lynx, I see, because it does have a look of a lynx about it. Purpose, confidence, intimate relationships, negotiation, and defensiveness. We have readiness with the Nottingham catchfly. And then the first castle in Nottingham, England, was built by William the Conqueror in 1067. Readiness, vigilance, honesty, commitment, details, but also apathy and distraction. So that's a place card. We have Release here with a beautiful Japanese honeysuckle and a giant flying squirrel. Release, memories, healing, past lessons, recall, and melancholy. Beautiful. Restore with the rain lily. Restore, timings, cleansing, balance, change, and overreaction. We have sensitivity with the night gladiola and the aardvark. Sensitivity, empathy, compassion, romance, feelings, neediness, and being the victim. Of course, this was the image on the front of the box and the book. We have sensuality with the damask violet, as well as the most widespread carnivore on Earth, the red fox, is the largest of the foxes. I did not know it was the most widespread carnivore on Earth. Sensuality, intimacy, spiritual sensitivity, kinship, communication, and promiscuity. We have the Rose of Mexico. Whoops. The Rose of Mexico with teeny tiny flowers, as well as the Santiago Apostle Church located in I can't say that. Santiago in Mexico is a Catholic church dedicated to St. James the Apostle. It was built in the mid-19th century. It features a Baroque facade and two towers which are unequal in size. Strength, fortitude, confidence, serenity, determination, and they can be a little bit overbearing. We have transformation with the angel's trumpet and a tube-lipped nectar bat. For transformation, death, change, initiation, and depression. So that's interesting with the death card. Of course, this would have been in the deck, the first deck that didn't have the death card. We have understanding with the night blooming Cereus cactus and the chirping frog. Understanding sensuality, radiance, inner wisdom, destiny, empowerment, and perspective. We have visualization with the petunia. Has large, which may have very desirable fragrance at night. Interesting. And then the other that it's meant to be with is the moon, providing light for guidance, visualization, inspiration, aspiration, wonder, limitlessness, and disbelief. And then I think this is the last one. Yes, wisdom with the Night Orchid, as well as the couscous. Cute little couscous. Wisdom, education, lessons, guidance, decisions, and inflexibility. She does give you a nice bibliography here, which I am always appreciative of, because it does give you a little feel of what she went to for information. And I always like that, because sometimes I might want to look up some of these herbals or these kinds of things, and so I really do like when bibliographies are added in. I said that in another deck, and I definitely agree about it. And then about the author themselves, and a lovely picture of her. And so there we have it. So it looks like, let me zoom back out. Oops, or out, you know. We have to go out before we can go in. So obviously the bulk of the deck has animals and flowers. There were 1, 2, 3, 4 of the cards that didn't have anything else associated with it. We did have, this was the moon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that were maybe places, actual places, and then we had like the shooting star, and we had the moon. Oops, one of them I must have missed because we had Halley's Comet. Yeah, so that I must have missed it, but there is also Halley's Comet. And then I just pulled these two out because they seem to have similar energies about them, because we often think though of death as transformation. This is focusing a lot more on, you know, an ending. It's on the ending part of things, whereas this is much more on actual transformation. So, but definitely the bulk of the cards have an animal as well as the flower. It's a nice size. It makes it quite easy to get a good shuffle in on it. I would say, let's see, get this more standard. It's slightly taller, you know, than a normal. So it's definitely oracle size, but it's not as big as a lot of oracles. It's definitely smaller than that, which makes getting a grip on it easier, at least for those of us like myself who do riffle shuffle. It really doesn't have, now I have, but see, I've also gone in and cracked most of this because obviously I've gone through and edged it, because it doesn't really feel sticky even though it's such a high gloss. I'm not getting any clumping or any feeling like that, like it's going to clump. But again, it could be because I've kind of gone in, unpeeled each one, as well as edged each one. So I probably shouldn't have edged it first, because not everybody edges it. I was just in the mood one night to edge it. So let's pull the one that I would be most likely to do, which is the Moon Oracle spread. So this, the Moon Cycle, sorry. Moon Cycle Oracle spread. So this is something I could certainly see myself doing. So number 1 down here, I like the size of these cards. Number 1 is the new moon. This is where you're at right now. Number 2 is the waxing moon, which is what we see what needs to be grown, focused upon, and tended to. Number 3 is the full moon. This is your opportunities. So let me see. There we go. And then the 4th, of course, would be the waning moon, which is what you need to let go of, or perhaps what is going to leave. Oh, we don't really want freedom to leave. Now you could also, I tend to, when there's 4 cards like this, like to compact everything together, but that's just me. So there we have that. So let's take a look at these cards. So the first one is down here. This is the new moon, and this is where things are right now. This is the heart of the issue or the situation. Of course, I didn't really have, this is more of a general, so I didn't have anything specific. Forces beyond your control that may be currently steering your direction. This isn't necessarily negative, but it can be. So you might need to go with the flow for a little while, or figure out how you can protect yourself or keep yourself from you know, being in a situation which you don't feel like you have a lot of control over. So that's the main situation. So that's pretty easy for me to be able to see, okay, I can see how that would relate to a specific situation and not just be some sort of, oh, this is a sort of general energy. It feels like that could be a specific situation. So I like that about an oracle deck, which you don't always get, let's be honest. For the next one in Preserve, we have, this is the waxing, what needs to be grown, focused on, or tended to. And this is actually about needing to step back a little bit to look after yourself. There may be a storm coming and it will test you. Try not to get lost in the frantic energy of others. Be true to yourself. These types of energies, which is interesting because if the situation is that you're really kind of being pulled along, or there's a situation which you don't have a lot of control over, stepping back into the space in which you do have control and really focusing on that pursuit, preserving your boundaries, that makes sense to me, right? That seems like that would be really a good flow of cards. And I feel like, again, I know I'm saying that more than once, but a lot of times in oracle cards, they're great to pull for a final message. They're great to sort of give you an affirmation or kind of give you a boost for the day, but they aren't all great reading cards for me personally. That kind of is what sort of sets a deck separate from an affirmation or support deck, is a deck that you could actually see functioning in a reading for information. And I feel like this actually would be. Well, let's keep going. So number 3 is your opportunity. The card indicates things that are coming soon or may even be here right now. And so here we have intention. It's time to actually review what's going on right now in relation to what's happening. So the intentions of those, so if that's interesting as well, right? If you're in a situation in which you don't have a lot of control, step back and make your own boundaries, and really maybe need to reevaluate what the intention of the people that are, the people, person, or situation that does have control, that is influencing the situation. What are the intentions behind that? You might need to stop here and think about those intentions and make sure, are those in alignment with you, or do you need to really, more than just set your boundaries again, you might really need to work a little harder to get yourself out of this particular situation. So I mean, I feel like this is very workable cards. Other than, again, it's not that there's anything wrong with cards that are really supportive and affirming, but it's a different type of deck. And whereas I feel like this could actually be a good reading deck. Here is the card for the waning moon, what to let go of, or perhaps something that might be leaving. And here we have freedom, so that's interesting. That means that there may be a point of just, you know, moving with the situation right now. Kind of as it said in the card itself, you might for a while need to go with the flow a little bit. A new beginning is being shown or suggested to you. The flower, well, so that you might have to let go of freedom a little bit so that something can start again, perhaps. That's interesting in that perspective. This flower supports you by offering confidence and assurance to take on new commitments, projects, and journey. Taking a chance should be a little bit easier. So it's the idea of needing to take a bit of a chance here. So again, it would depend on the exact situation. I love problematic cards where it's so interesting to think of something that might be going away, because this could also be a warning. If you've got this warning here that you're not completely in control of a situation, you might need to step back and establish your boundaries, and you might also need to be figuring out what the intentions are of any other person that's involved. And this might be saying, oh, heads up, saying, look, you're going to have to you've trusted this person's intentions and you're going to have to let go of the wheel a bit, or you don't trust this person's intentions and you need to perhaps be warned you're about to lose some freedom and you better grab your power back, right? So depending on the situation, that could go in different ways. I quite like that. So this is, again, I'll get back with you as I use it more, but I'm getting a little bit of a vibe here where I feel like this could actually get at some meaty information, which is quite nice because I struggle with Oracle decks. I love some decks that are just insights, and like this deck even. This is, to me, very, both of these decks, they're very supportive, but they have a lot of deep insights. But it's not super situational, whereas I feel like this, on the other hand, may be something that could really dig into the specifics of a situation, perhaps. I don't know. If you've used this deck and you have some experience with it, let me know how you feel that reads. I feel like Katie Flowers might have even said that she had some pretty hard-hitting messages, or really it wasn't... The purpose wasn't so much support as to really kind of dig into some things and some hard work, some hard discussion with oneself, so to speak. So I'll be interested to hear what other people's experience have been with this particular deck. And I hope that you've enjoyed this look at it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, whenever it is when you're watching this.